Hello, and welcome to this SkillAPI tutorial. In this tutorial, I will be covering how to access the dynamic tool and some basic functions with it, such as getting the data onto your server and creating a basic class. To start off, we should get to the tool. You can find it on the Bucket Dev page. The link to the Bucket Dev page is below. Once on the page, just scroll down to the Resources section and then click on the Dynamic Tool button. This will open up the tool so you can begin using it. Now for the layout, on the left hand side, you have your list of skills and classes. By default, you have only one skill, named Skill 1, and you can switch over to classes, and you'll have one class named Class 1. You can create as many skills and classes as you want, and to do so, you just go down here and click the Create New button. Clicking it while on the Skill tab will create a new skill, and clicking it while on the Class tab will create a new class. You can switch between classes or skills by just selecting them in the list. Now, to edit a class or skill, once you select it, all of its properties will appear in the middle panel. So let's start editing a first class. First off, it asks for a class name. This is what you call the class and what will be used in commands, such as professing into the class or seeing the options that are available. For this one, let's name it something like Fighter. Alright, now next is a prefix for the class. This is used for MC core functions such as chat prefixes or the scoreboard title. It is also used as the title of skill trees. Now the prefix, unlike the class name, can use chat colors. To do so, just use a ampersand symbol followed by one of the color codes. The color codes are both found on the SkillAPI page as well as on a reference, which the link is provided below as well. For the fighter, let's say we use gold, which is 6, so ampersand 6. And then generally we keep it the same name as the class name, so have fighter after that as well. Once we have the prefix done, we can move on to the maximum level. This option is the highest level a player can achieve while being that class. By default, this is 40, and this should be higher than the next option, the profession level. For this fighter, let's make the maximum level 30. Okay, the profession level is what level the class can profess into the next one at. Say the fighter can become a berserker later on. The level you want it to change is this value. So this should be lower than the max level, otherwise you won't be able to reach it. Oftentimes they will be the same as the maximum level, so let's make this 30 as well. So once you have those two set, now you can move on to the player stats. Health and mana. Health is your Minecraft health, how much damage you can take before dying. And since the fighter is a bit more bulky, let's give him a little bit more than normal. This first value is how much you start with. By default it's set to the Minecraft normal amount, 20. But for this fighter, let's give him a starting health of 30, just because he's more tanky. The second value is how much they gain per level. For a fighter, let's give him something like 3 health. Now, these values can accept double values, so you can do something like 2.3, 2.7, 2.6, anything you would want. I'll just keep it as a 3 value though. Now, mana is the same way. And since fighters probably more bruisers, let's give them less mana because they don't cast as much. So let's say start with 15 mana and gain 1 per level. Now, all of these values I'm just making up on the spot. You don't have to do any specific values. Alright, now these next two options are not for your starting classes. All your starting classes will ignore these two values. They basically determine what the class professes from. So, going back to the Berserker idea, the fighter turns into Berserker. The Berserker would require the fighter class, because the fighter class turns into the Berserker. So this class 2, let's edit it to be the Berserker. Alright, so once you have the Berserker, and you want to profess from the fighter, you go down to this option, you select the combo box, and you select fighter. Once you do that, the Berserker will profess from the fighter. Now the second option, inherit parent skills, determines whether or not you want to take all of the skills from the fighter. Generally this will be true, because you want to keep all the skills you had before. So I'm going to set that to true for this. Alright, going back to fighter. So once you have all the settings done, the only thing left for classes is the skills. To add a skill to a class, all you do is go down to the box next to the name of the skill and checkmark it by clicking on it. You can select or deselect just by clicking as well. You can select as many skills as you want to add to the class, but for now I'm not going to select any because we haven't actually made any skills yet. Alright, and lastly, on the right hand side, is your data. This is basically the result of what you have chosen, and this is what you send to your files to make SkillAPI read it in. So to get this onto your server, you select everything over here. You can use Control-A, Control-C, anything that selects all and copies all in this area. And once you have that all copied, you can go to your server, like I have over here. You go into the SkillAPI folder, open up the dynamic folder, and now there's two files that'll be here after you run the server the first time with SkillAPI installed. First one is this classes file. Since we're adding classes right here, we will open that up, and it starts off as empty. So once you have your classes copied, you can go into this file and paste it. Now, you can save it, and then once you run the server, it should have the classes loaded into the server. So just to make sure that's up and running, let's run the server and try it out. Now during this tutorial I'm going to be running it on 1.7.2, but this should work on any Craft Bucket version since 1.5.2, including 1.6's and 1.7.2. If you're having any problems with one of these versions, feel free to post it on the SkillAPI page and I'll see to it that it gets fixed. Alright, we're in the world, and let's see what class options we have. Alright, Fighter showed up, and Berserker did not, which is good, because starting classes don't require any other ones, like the Fighter, so that would show up when you aren't professed as anything yet. So, let's profess as the Fighter. Alright, so now we are a fighter, and we have the stats we have selected from the tool, the 30 health and the 15 mana. And if we type the options again to see what we can turn into, now we can turn into a Berserker at level 30, just like we selected. Since we didn't add any classes, if we open up the class tree, we won't have any skills in here, since there aren't any. But one thing to note is that the title of the skill tree is the prefix that we selected. Also, if we type in chat, we also have the prefix that we selected in the chat as well. So in just a matter of minutes, we can create a class and get it into the server just like that. In the next video, I will be covering how to make skills and tie those into the classes to make the full RPG experience. Before I go though, I will go over one more topic that's fairly important for continuous editing of your classes. So, you try out your classes and you come back to the tool some other day and no more data is there, because every time you load up the tool, it starts off with just the defaults. So you need to bring back in your old data that you have saved to your server. The way to do this is, you go back to where you had the files, you select your file that you want to load in, and you just drag it onto the output, the right panel. Once you let go, it'll load in all of the classes or skills from that file, depending on which one you drag in, and it'll let you continue editing from where you left off last time. So if we go back to the fighter, it'll have all of the options we selected before, and we can just continue editing. One thing to note though, is that with the skills, if you don't load in the skills first, your selections won't apply because the skills are no longer in the tool. Because of this, you should always load in skills first, but since I hadn't selected any skills anyway, I just loaded in the skills, or the classes first right now. Alright, that covers the basics of the tool, and we'll get into more stuff in the next video. Thanks for watching.